Please stand as able for our opening song, We Are One. And we'll give Steve and Trina just a moment to get set up here.
You're on.
Sorry. I was doing other business. Are we ready? We are one.
We are one
with everything under the sun.
We are one
with everything under the sun.
We are one with spirit. We are one with the power. We are one with each other every day and every hour. We are one. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with our family. We are one with our friends. One with our neighbors, with a love that never ends. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with everything under the sun.
We are one with the jays, with the elk and the deer, the sun and the stars, with the sky so clear.
We are one with everything under the sun. 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 We are one with the rain as it falls from the sky. We are one with the water we drink when we are dry. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with everything under the sun. Last time. With everything under the sun. We are one.
Before we say good morning to each other, we're going to try this again. We did this last week. It was called Connection Before Content. So find somebody in the room and just tell them, I have been wanting to try, and tell them what you've been wanting to try lately. And then the other person can share. And just go ahead and casually move around after you've shared. We'll go for about another 30 seconds here. Almost. All right, my adult children, we are starting class. Butts in seats. Good morning, everybody. This submission this morning is from Morro Rock in Sequoia National Park. This is from Trina. Let me show this online. And just a reminder, you can submit your own photos while you're out and about on adventures, and we'll get you in the lineup for Sunday morning slides. You can also submit your pets. That's something new, so send them in. Let's see your furry friends. Welcome to Unity of Flagstaff, where all are welcome. And if you're a first-time visitor, please feel free to fill out a blue info card that is out in the foyer. You can return it to a greeter that you met on the way in, or you can put it in the basket later. We got quite a full room today, so let's do an opener we haven't done in a while. Repeat after me. What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day. Yes, it is a wonderful day here at Unity of Flagstaff. Let's get to our announcements. We have the Flagstaff Family Food Center tomorrow, 3:30 to 6 p.m. I have 4 people signed up so far. I need 4 more. Okay, now we have 5. I need some more signed up for tomorrow. Please sign up. We do need your help. It's very hard to not pull off with a group of 8. We also have the Writing Refuge class coming up, and this is a journaling class that Sue Mine will lead. Let me put this information online for folks. It'll be August 21st from 11 to 12:30. It'll be on Zoom, and the cost is $20. So if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to Sue. We also have Bunko coming back. Our first Bunko was a great success. The next one will be August 21st, 2026 here, and we'll start at 5:30 p.m. If you sign up, or if you're interested, I don't have a sign-up sheet printed. Let me know, and I'll get you on the list of folks, and we'll get you all the information. No, it's not here. Okay, and then we have our celebration of life for Bob Klein. I'll let Don come up and talk more about details.
Thank you all for being patient about this celebration of life for Bob Klein. But we do have a time now. It's going to start at noon on September 7th. That's a Saturday. I'm sorry. September 5th. I always do this. I don't know why. Saturday, September 5th, and it will start at noon, and we'll have a potluck afterwards. So Sean sends out a newsletter usually on Thursday and on Sunday, and so there's a place for you to click on that. Also, if any of you have pictures of Bob Klein, it doesn't have to be with Unity, but it can be just pictures of him. I only have 9 pictures in the slideshow right now and would like to have a lot more. So thank you all for being patient about that, because we were going back and forth with times and stuff. Thank you.
I got to take a look at all of you before I talk to you. Hi. I am so happy to announce that next week we will have Sabrina Johnson here as our speaker, and we are pretty sure we are hiring her to be our new minister. um, Only the details need to be worked out. And so next Sunday, when she's here after our meeting, she will be staying to answer questions for anybody that has some, and the board will be asking her questions also. But it's just a matter of firming up the details of how it's all going to go. And so I'm very excited, and I know that she wants to do classes out here, and that we're just happy she's healed enough and well enough to make a commitment to us to be our minister.
See, I told you, wonderful day. All right, we have the night of mystery voting. If you have any questions about that, you can ask Trina. Or do you want to come up? Yeah, come on up.
I'll be brief. So every year for the last 4 years, this room has gotten transformed into various places, and we host a mystery night. It is super fun, and it's also a fundraiser, but really underscore the fun part of it, because that's the fun. What it really is. It's a blast. We do it every year. You get to be a character. There's no lines to memorize. It's really not stressful, and it's just a lot of fun. And this year we are voting on whether we're going to be at the circus. This is the last time the circus is going to be an option, because it's been up for 3 years in a row and it didn't get chosen. So this is its third round. And I'm treating it like the Baseball Hall of Fame. If you don't get nominated after the third round, we're moving on. The other choice is a cruise ship, which also sounds like a lot of fun. So please vote and come join the fun. It's October 23rd, which is a Friday. So we have several months, but we had and talk to people. Raise your hand if you participated in it last year. Talk to people. Talk to people. It was so much fun. And it's family friendly. Your kids can participate. Absolutely. So anything else I should mention? No? All right.
You got any more questions? Find Trina later. Lastly, if you own a local business, here is the price to advertise for 6 months or a year. And let's acknowledge our local business partners. And here's our second slide of local business partners. All right, and we are here to support you in affirmative prayer. You can call 1-800-NOW-PRAY. That's for 24/7 prayer support. I'm going out of order here. Prayer partners, if you're in the room, raise your hands. Prayer partners are available after today's service. They'll be at the Serenity Room. And if you are in need, they are available. We have a prayer box. Michael, if you'll please. You can write in your you can write in your prayer requests over there at the prayer box. They'll be held in consciousness for 30 days. You can also contact the center here at 928-526-8893 through call or text, and I'll make sure the information gets to the prayer team. Now, let me welcome up Lori Morse for our opening prayer. And she's a prayer partner, volunteer, and our friend. Marcia.
If you want to take a moment, and if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes, kind of ground your feet. We begin this new day by taking a deep breath, allowing the air to fill our lungs and center our spirit. We release our racing thoughts, set aside endless to-do lists, and rest in the presence of the divine. As we take this sacred time in prayer, we affirm all is right in right order. The same universal presence that orders the cosmos and regulates the tides is active in our lives. We allow ourselves to release any fear, doubt, or frustration, knowing that divine order is always at work beneath the surface. Beyond our human eyes, what our human eyes perceive, all things are aligning for our highest good. Every challenge, every detour serves a divine purpose, leading us toward our highest potential. We turn to the wisdom within and declare, we are divinely guided. With a grateful heart, we affirm that all is well, all is right in the world, and all is connected to the divine spirit within us. Amen. And now we'll take a moment if anybody has any prayer requests or gratitudes, celebrations they'd like to share.
Gratitude. I was able to see my friend David Hoffman yesterday. He and his wife are gardeners, and they had an open house gardening for the master gardeners in Flagstaff. And David is, I think he's 93. He had run a 5K that morning before hosting people in his garden all day. So
Wow.
David is an amazing guy, and he's somebody that's had a knee replacement and is still running.
Wow. Well, we celebrate that with you.
I have a gratitude and a couple of prayer requests. The gratitude is for this community. I don't know how many of you know that I come up from Phoenix at least twice a month, and I make the drive because it's worth it. I love this community. I love how connected we are. I'm so happy that Sabrina Johnson is going to be our new minister, and it just is, I'm just so filled with gratitude for the community, for the minister, for the board, for the search team, just filled with gratitude. And then I have a couple of prayer requests. My daughter Cindy is in the process of selling her home back in Florida, which most of you know, it's probably not a really good time to sell your home right now. So I need prayers for her that she will either come out even at closing or she will come out a little bit ahead. I also need prayers for my granddaughter Mariah, who is taking the ASVAB test tomorrow to get into the Navy. So she needs really high test scores because she wants to go into IT. And so if I could, this is such a prayerful community, and I know that when this community starts praying, it happens. So thank you.
Well, we send affirmative prayers that Cindy's house will sell at the right and perfect time, and she will be guided where she's supposed to go. And your granddaughter's name again? Mariah. And we affirm that Mariah is going to be connected to her intelligence and be able to ace that ASVAB test.
So school is starting Monday for FUSD, and I think most of the other schools in town. So I just want to say a prayer. I bless those big and little ones as they march on in and prepare for their future, and bless the teachers and aides and principals and all of the staff that make that happen in our school district. And there's a lot of us. So I just want to just see those kiddos getting all the knowledge they need, but also all of the love and support and safety that they need to function as adults in the world. Yeah.
Well, we acknowledge all of the children and the staff and surround them all with light and love and protection. And thank you for bringing that to our consciousness, because that is an important thing.
Hello, everybody. As this spring, my body just has gone downhill. I've had a rough time. I've been getting by as good as I can. Last Tuesday, Helen and I went down to Peoria, and I saw he happens to be the best liver doctor in the state of Arizona. And from what it was extremely helpful to me. I made some changes, and in many ways, I'm doing better already. I quit gaining so much weight so much. In fact, I've been losing it. And so I just have to be optimistic. I ask my higher power for help, and I take it. however I get it. And I get up and do what I can. And it really works. And I am feeling better. And I know nobody understands what I say, but nobody's ever understood what I say.
Well, Michael, we know you've been going through a lot of challenges, and I'm very grateful to hear that you've found somebody that you connect with, and we continue to affirm your highest health and your highest good as you're surrounded by our loving prayers. Marcia?
I need support to approach difficulties in life from my God self. For example, when the cat wants to be fed at 4 in the morning. And also from situations of fear or conflict that I can approach, or anxiety, that I can approach it from my God self and see the God self in everybody else.
We affirm that your cat is going to get on the right schedule for you. And oh, okay. And we pray and affirm that your fear and anxiety will be replaced with goodness and light and a sense of peace within your soul.
Thank you.
Carrie?
I went to see my 95-year-old mother a couple of weeks ago, and she's still kicking. And the end is getting near, and we took a nice walk around the facility and got outside. So she's packed, she's ready to go, and at the same time, she's living life right now. So just ask prayers for my mother. Her name is Elizabeth.
Okay. Well, we hold Elizabeth in our hearts as she prepares to make this transition from a physical body to a different existence, and grateful that you are able to have this time with her. And I think she's very blessed to have a son that spends such good time with her. We'll continue to hold both you and Elizabeth in our hearts and our prayers. Any other prayers or gratitudes? Okay. We collectively affirm with you and those who pray and celebrate that the presence of God is in all things, and it is the one power. We know that the divine spirit is a guiding light. We are grateful for the power of prayer and the good news spoken, and so it is. One more. I have to. Nobody told me that. Okay, we're very happy to introduce Sean, our operations manager. Most of the time, I'd say funny, yeah. and our friend.
I need to read part of today's thing off my phone, so bear with me. So earlier in the week, I reached out to Amanda Sue, and I was like, how do you do a supplemental talk to an Ask Me Anything when we don't know what the questions are going to be? So what she said is, why don't you pick one of the parables and talk about how that relates to your life? So the one I've chosen is the prodigal son. And it's special to me for a couple of reasons. I'll get to that after we just do a quick recap of what's going on. So the parable of the prodigal son follows a younger brother who demands his inheritance early, travels to a distant country, and completely squanders his wealth on wild, reckless living. Hit by a severe famine and reduced to feeding pigs, he humbles himself and decides to return home to beg his father to hire him as a servant. And instead of punishing him, his father spots him from afar, runs to embrace him with open arms, and throws a massive celebration to welcome him back. Meanwhile, the resentful older brother refuses to join the party, forcing the father to explain that they must celebrate because what was once lost has now been found. So it's kind of a running joke with the previous churches I worked at. Whenever they need my help or whatever, and I come over there. For example, I used to work at Federated Church. So when I show up over there and they need my help, I always say, "The prodigal son returns," and they always think it's funny. So that one kind of tied directly to me because it's an ongoing joke. But also, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Has anybody seen the new Spider-Man movie? Okay. All right. Okay, I won't spoil it. But this parable is very much in line with that movie. It's kind of a modern telling of what has lost has now been found. And I feel that the way that they present the situation with Peter Parker as Spider-Man is very relatable to a lot of folks, especially with what's going on in the world today. So if you don't necessarily relate to the parable, I'm sure that if you go watch the new Spider-Man movie, you can relate to something in that. So there's your platform assistant talk today. Go watch Spider-Man. If you'll join me in unity principle number 5, real quick. I know it's time to change the principle, but I felt that this one would apply to our Q&A session today, so I kept it. So let's join me. It is not enough to understand spiritual teachings. We must live the truth we know. And the short version, live truth. Oh, I already did my inspired moment. See, I don't even follow the script, guys. It's okay. Now, we're going to do a special song before we go into meditation, and it is I Am So Blessed, and we'll have Steve and Trina perform, and give me just a moment to get set up back here.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Now you.
You are so blessed. You are so blessed. You are so grateful for all that you have. You are so blessed. You are so blessed. You are so grateful. You are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed.
Back to I.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Breathe that in. We are so blessed, so grateful. Let's take this moment to move into meditation. If you haven't already and you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze. Really, this is just a moment to start to close off our outer senses so we can tune in to what's going on within us. Allow your breath to be your anchor, that if those thoughts start swirling, you get distracted, just come on back to that breath. Feeling the air as it moves in through your nostrils is nice and cool. And as you exhale, it's a bit warmer. Feeling that gentle wave of your chest and stomach as you breathe in and as you release. Meditation is a time to be still, to be present in this moment, and to remember. Remember that no matter what is going on in our lives, in the world outside of these four walls, the truth is, in each and every moment, we are so blessed. And gratitude is a mindset that we can choose in each and every moment. I invite you to take a moment now to bring to mind either the name or the image of the faces of any people that you want to bless, send your love and light to. If you'd like, you can even whisper their names aloud. Bringing our loved ones, our friends, our family, maybe even someone we have a bit of conflict with, into this space and into this energy. Let's take a deep breath in together and release it slowly. And let's spend a few moments resting in the peace of this moment. In the silence, may we be reminded of the truth that wherever we are, God is and all is well. I invite you to take your time waking up your body, moving your wrists and your ankles, your neck and your shoulders. And if you'd like, you can keep your eyes closed and your gaze lowered, or you can slowly blink them open. But we'll sit in this moment for a little while longer, and Steve and Trina are going to lead us in another song. So be gentle with yourselves and take your time.
So I'd like to introduce this song. It's Maria Moldar is one of the people that I've heard perform this, actually in Flagstaff. And it was written by a guy named Blind Willie Johnson, who was a gospel blues singer. Wrote it in 1930, so that kind of gives you the time frame of it. First time I ever heard him sing it, he was sitting on the steps of a small country store playing the guitar and singing this. So anyway, I thought this would be a nice intro to Amanda Sue's Q&A session here. Want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. Want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of a man. I'm going to ask the question, please answer if you can. Is there anybody sure that can tell me what is the soul of a man? I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. Want somebody to tell me what is the soul of a man? I traveled to different countries, I traveled to the furthest land, but nobody there could tell me just what is the soul of a man. I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. Want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of a man. I heard some people talking, I come up just in time. It was a teacher, doctor, and a lawyer. Say a man ain't nothing but his mind. I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. I want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of a man. Jesus come to the temple, the people all stood amazed. He was teaching the doctors and the lawyers how to raise a man from the grave. I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. I want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of a man. I read my Bible often, I try to read it right. As far as I can understand, it ain't nothing but a burning light. I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. I want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of a man. Now, I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can.
Oh, yeah.
I want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of a man.
I love that. Thank you. Love a good gospel song. Well, good morning, everyone. We are doing something a little bit different today, and we're doing a Ask Me Anything. If you're not familiar with the term, it comes from, I'm sure it comes from other places, but it comes from Reddit, which is like a social media platform where people will get on and say, hey, I'm a rocket scientist, ask me anything. And so people will, all the questions that they never knew they had for a rocket scientist, they get the chance to ask them anything they want. So that's what we're doing today. The point of this really isn't to like quiz anybody or to give you like the right answers. It's really just for any questions that you may have, and then just for me to share my perspective and maybe give you some insight into what Unity teaches about particular things. So no question is too silly or too basic. Whatever is on your mind or on your heart, feel free to ask. Sean's got the mics. And to get us warmed up, a few of you emailed in questions ahead of time, so I'll start with those to kind of get your brain rolling, though I know some of you probably came with questions in mind. So let me just touch on these really quickly. So one of the questions that was sent in was about which of the 12 powers is the most relevant or applicable to everyday life. So if you're not familiar with the 12 powers teaching, let me kind of give you the basics of that. So Unity's co-founder, Charles Fillmore, in meditation, got kind of this divine download about the 12 powers. And so what Charles kind of formed was this system where each of us within us has 12 spiritual faculties. Now, a faculty, if you think about the faculties that we have physically, like all of our senses would be a faculty, right? So like your eyesight and touch and taste and smell, those are all faculties. Now, when we're born, we're basically blind, right? But then as we get older, our eyesight gets better, our seeing faculty improves and changes and grows over time. So in the 12 powers teaching, these spiritual faculties grow and improve over time as well. So they're inherent, which means we're all born with them. We all have access to these spiritual powers, but we can develop them and use them better throughout our lifetime. So what's interesting about the 12 powers is Charles kind of connected each power with an area of the body, which nowadays we would think of like the chakra system. A lot of similarities between where he puts the different 12 powers and where we would put it. Like wisdom, for example, is in the gut. And now we know about that gut intuition, and we have some science behind the physiology of why that's true, that we can know things in our gut, and that's where he put wisdom. They're also each connected to like a month of the year and a color and a disciple, but I'm not going to go into all of that. So one of the things when we talk about using the 12 powers in our lives, I like to use them almost as a way to check in with myself of where am I in balance and where am I out of balance. Because each power can be underdeveloped. Each power can also be overdeveloped. So let me give you an example. One of the 12 powers is order. And order, the power of order isn't just necessarily about like being organized. The power of order is everything kind of in its due time. So somebody who maybe puts the cart before the horse could work on their power of order. And at the same time, somebody who maybe tries to rigidly control the timing of everything, they might have an overdeveloped power of order, right? So really when it comes to how do we use the 12 powers in our lives and how are each of them applicable in our lives, I wouldn't say that there's one that's more useful than the others. It's really about where am I right now and what season of life am I in and where am I out of balance. So for example, one of the 12 powers is also imagination. So if we have a balanced power of imagination, we are using that spiritual capability to envision great things for our life, to hold that vision for our friends and family, to see peace and health and well-being. If it's underdeveloped, we're stuck in the literal and we can't see a brighter future, and that can lead to despair and depression and all of those things, right? But if we're head in the clouds thinking about rainbows and unicorns all the time and have our feet 20 feet off the ground and can't manage to take care of everyday things because we're living in this imagination world, we're overdeveloped, right? So my recommendation for whoever asked this question would be to look through all 12 powers and kind of do a check-in. Like, where's this showing up in my life? Where's this not showing up in my life? And depending on what you're facing in your life, what power can come to my assistance here? I've got this issue with, a person and we're bickering or we're fighting. Can I bring the power of love, which is harmonizing, into this? So that would be my recommendation. All right, before I go to any others that were sent in, any questions come up from the room? Ooh, we had straight up. Oh, the other 12 powers? Okay, this is a quiz. Okay, so we've got life, imagination, the power of power, judgment, which is also wisdom, understanding, zeal, elimination or release, faith, love, order. I already said wisdom, strength, and strength. Whew. Let the people know who gave me my ordination that I still got it. All right, another question. Michael. Wait for the mic so that way they can hear you online.
I believe that a church is, church is a group of a bunch of people who think the same. So there's all kinds of churches, good and bad. But I think it's really good when we have um, like a preacher, like what you do, a leader. And I don't want to be, leader's not the right word, but a guide. And I was just wondering, what was it that gave you the inclination to be a guide like you are?
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks, Michael. So in Unity, we talk about when we go into ministry, become a minister, we call it a calling, that we have a calling. And so for me, it was actually in I think it was in 2019. And really what it was I went through my own spiritual formation, my own struggles, my own challenges, and found Unity. I grew up in Kansas City, so I knew Unity as a teenager, but like kind of moved away from it. And then when I was going through some stuff in my life, I really used the principles and the teachings to heal. And it made such a difference in my life. And what I wanted was to find a group of people who had also been through hard stuff and use these principles to heal and grow and learn. And I wanted them to be my age. And yet I would go to Unity churches and I like really couldn't find my people. So even though I knew Unity is where I belong, I felt like I was looking for more of like a discussion group. I wanted us to like get together and talk about what we were learning versus, the Sunday church experience. So that led me to, well, I'll just start taking more classes with Unity and maybe I'll find my people that way. And I was about halfway through what they call the prerequisite classes before you can apply to ministerial school when one of the teachers said, "How many of you are on the ministerial path?" And before that, I hadn't even realized that was an option. Like I was just taking classes for my own benefit. I didn't realize like, oh, these classes can eventually lead to becoming a minister. So it kind of felt like that little like divine inspiration, like it planted that seed, and then everything just unfolded from there. And during seminary, during ministerial school, there was a moment where we were talking about leading a church and everything that goes into that. And at the time, I really didn't see myself doing that. That's changed since then. But when we were talking about it, I had this realization that my prior career was in nonprofit management, and it's 501c6 organizations, which are like trade associations. It's essentially the closest that you can get to a church without being a church. And so it's another one of those like little divine inspiration, like okay, I see you, thank you, like I get it, like I get why I'm on this path. So yeah, thank you for the question. That was really it. Yes, Marilyn.
Okay. Um, my question has to do with physical healing. And I know that Myrtle Fillmore, that's where she started from. And I know that there's a difference between when I believe something because it makes sense to me and everything in me makes sense to me, but my physical, it's not in my bones.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense, but maybe a doctor's told me I have something that can't be healed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I want to start working to heal something in that way. How do I go about getting from the place of the doubt that lives within my bones to the mental state that believes it can be done? There's a space between those two places.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how to work on the challenge of getting from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could help me with some of those things and ideas about what I might be up against and how I would deal with them.
Yes.
That's my question.
Fantastic question. I love, Marilyn, how you put it as like it's not in my bones yet, because that really is the key, right? I'm reading a book right now called The Lost Art of Scripture, which is very fascinating, very dry though, if you're not into that sort of thing. But one of the things they talk about is originally any type of scripture, like the Bible or the Hebrew scriptures before it was the Bible, the way that people used it was they would sing or chant over and over and over and over and over again. So the people who were trained in scripture, they spent 8 hours a day instead of going to school and learning mathematics and, grammar and all of that, chanting and singing these words. And the goal with that was that it got implanted into your bones. And so I think what you're talking about here is the difference between an intellectual understanding of something and a knowing, like a full body knowing of something. And if you think about it, there are so many things that we know in our body that we never chose to learn, right? I always think about, like, when it comes to prosperity, things like money doesn't grow on trees, right? That's something we never decided I'm going to learn that. But it's like it's in our body. And so when we're working on realizing more abundance, for example, we run up against, well, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, I know that God is my source. I know that, I deserve the world, right? I am worthy. I know that there is unlimited resources that just have to be appropriated differently. I'm open to all the channels to receive. Like, we can say that, but then if my body says, yeah, but money doesn't grow on trees and there's only so much to go around, right? It fights against us. So I don't know if there's a one size fits all easy solution. I don't think there is. But I think recognizing that you are up against however many decades of knowing in your body that you were trying to reprogram and change. And so number one, I would say be gentle with yourself and accepting of, this is where I'm at. These are old stories that come not just from my lifetime, but from everything my parents taught and what they learned in their lifetime and what they inherited from their, like, this is ancestral, that these lessons have been taught. It is in our bodies. It is in our DNA. So when you are trying to realize healing, when you're trying to make shifts in your consciousness, whether it's about physical health or abundance or worthiness or mental health, whatever it may be, you're up against a lot. And so I would say the biggest thing is repetition. And not just repetition of saying the words, but if you think about, like, have you ever tried to psych yourself up for something? Like, you prepared for something and then you try and psych yourself up for it, right? Okay, so think about what you do. Like, if I were coming up, if I was a little nervous to come speak, I would say, like, okay, you got this. You've practiced, you know how to do this, you've done this before, like, you've got this. Like, just go up there, take a deep breath. So here what I'm doing. I am reminding myself of what I already know I'm capable of. I'm not trying to convince myself I'm capable. I'm reminding myself of what's already true. And I would say that's the biggest shift that's made a difference in my life and in my prayer life, is making that shift where I'm not trying to convince myself of new information. I'm not trying to reach out there and, like, assume that maybe this might be possible. I am trying to remind myself of what is already true. And so start with maybe what you can believe. Start with that and really lean into that. And then what you'll notice is that, if you can't do a handstand, you're never going to do a back handspring, right? But once you can do a handstand, now doing a back handspring starts to feel a little bit more possible. So start with what feels possible. And then once that's like a knowing, then you can go to that next spot, because now you've got this new range of things that feels possible that didn't feel possible before. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to take, before we take another one from the audience, I'm going to switch over to one that was sent in because it kind of fits with this. The question was about, how do I focus on this inner healing when nothing else is working? And so with this question, I first want to say, number one, just acknowledge that sometimes life is really difficult. Sometimes we face things that we don't know how we're going to overcome, whether it's a diagnosis or a financial situation or whatever it may be. And that spirituality, even unity spirituality, isn't about never facing any obstacles. It's not about never having suffering. It's not that if I pray in the right way and I do my affirmative prayer and I really know this in my bones that I will never experience any hardships. That's not what unity teaches. It's about our posture to life and how we deal with and make meaning out of the stuff that does come. So if you're in a situation where you feel like, I'm trying to do this inner healing, but, like, how do I do that when everything out there is just, ugh, right? Anybody feel that way? So what I would invite you into, if that's the case for you, is, I love the quote that, like, anything and everything can be used for my good. And it's really hard to believe that when you're in the midst of something difficult, But how many of you have gone through something really difficult and now looking back, you can say, oh yeah, that was used for my good. So finding a way to just open up that space of like, I don't need all the answers and I don't need my life to be perfect. I don't even need this situation to be fixed for me to open up the space and say, there could be something good here. It kind of goes to that what could be possible thing again, right? Like, I don't really know how this is going to work out, but I'm open to the possibility that there might be something good here. And just start with that. I would say the other thing that Unity teaches a lot and has been huge for me is, are we focused on the outer expression or are we focused on the inner experience? Because you don't need to have all your bills paid to have inner peace. You don't need to have all your relationships in order to have inner peace. You don't need to be living your calling and living your best life to have inner peace. Because if we did, we wouldn't have had spirituality for like thousands of years because people were hungry, right? And starving and not safe and dying before the age of 30. But yet, we are all called to that spiritual impulse. So the outer stuff doesn't have to be fixed for you to focus on the inner. And I feel like I had something else that I wanted to say about that. Oh, the other thing that I think this speaks to is, anybody heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay, so I'm thinking that the person kind of wrote this with that in mind, of like, the idea is I need food and water and sleep first, and then I need like safety and security, and then I can get to like love and friendship, self-esteem, self-actualization, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, while a cool idea, has been like empirically disproven. Spiritual formation does not depend on your lower needs being met first. So I just wanted to throw it out there. So what they found is that you develop self-esteem, you develop connection to something bigger, you develop self-transcendence right alongside with basic physical needs. One doesn't have to come before the other. Okay, I think that's it. All right, other question from the audience. Dawn?
Okay. What does Unity teach about where the soul is in the body?
This is a great question. Okay,
And
so
also,
okay.
second part,
Yes.
what do you believe
Okay.
about that?
Perfect. I love the two-part. So what's interesting about the word soul is it actually depends on if you're going back to like Fillmore era, Fillmore H.M. Lee Cady unity, or if you're looking at more modern unity, because it's two different things. Okay. Okay, so the classic unity definition of the soul is a combination of your eternal self, your Christ self, and everything you've accumulated in this lifetime. So the soul actually isn't pure light, that's your Christ self. The soul is how you're showing up in this lifetime with both your spiritual self and your human self. Nowadays, we use soul differently. We use soul to talk about that Christ self, that part of us that is eternal. Unity doesn't have any specific teaching as to where the soul is. I would say that Unity isn't necessarily like espouse that it has a physical location, more that it's like part of consciousness and like the spiritual body as a whole. But Unity actually doesn't have a lot of writings other than like the locations of the 12 powers. They really didn't get much into that type of thing. So I would say there's not really an answer for the location. For me personally, I personally believe that when we die, our consciousness and all that we are that makes us unique and individual gets absorbed back into the ether of the collective, and that the individual, while our energetic imprint may stay in places, me as an individual no longer exists, is my personal belief. So I guess I don't believe in a soul the way that we say it modernly, as in like an individual that transcends death. Fair enough?
I just have heard people say that the soul resides in the brain.
Sure.
Other people say the soul resides in the heart.
Yeah.
And I was like, where would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. None specifically. I've heard like the pineal gland is what a lot of people say. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the power of faith is there too, according to Charles. So. Oh, hold on. We need a mic so they can hear you online.
So it's more of a comment than a question, but when it's up and as you may. I didn't know the scientific stuff. That's just me. Because I need in my life more things to work with. The soul is no longer considered to be within the body electronically and scientifically, as they find that it lives outside of ourselves. So it's not a part of the physicality of our body, which makes all the sense in the world, because we aren't our body. We are that essence, that soul presence outside of our system.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, and that's like when we talk about metaphysics is a term we use a lot in Unity, we're talking about beyond the physical, right? That we are experiencing life in 3 dimensions, 4 if you count time, but that there's so many more than that that we just can't perceive. So yeah, when we're talking about the soul, we're talking about something that's not necessarily bound to the physical reality we're currently inhabiting. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Lori, go ahead, and then I'll take one from here.
I've heard people ask me, are you a Christian? Is Unity a Christian church? And I believe in the teachings of Jesus, but I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in sin. How do you respond if people ask you that question?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And I think you would get so many answers within Unity, even of is Unity Christian, depending on where you are. I would say that we're not, only from the standpoint because most people, when you say Christian, what you mean is that you believe that Jesus died for your sins. And while we don't believe that in the way that they mean it, right? So that's a thing. But the founders of Unity very much consider themselves Christian and very much believe in the truth of the Bible metaphysically interpreted. And that's the key part, right? Because if knowing what I know about the way that we view the Bible in Unity as a story of soul growth, as something that has so much more meaning beyond what's on the surface, where we can look at the historical and we can look at the author's perspective and we can look at what it means for me in modern day, and we can also look at the spiritual and symbolic, and we can like hold all of that and see meaning in it. The way that I relate to the Bible in that way, I can say, I know what I mean talking about Jesus dying for our sins, metaphysically interpreted, and I can say I believe in that, right? But I don't believe in it the way that most Christians do, right? So I think it's personal preference whether you consider yourself a Christian or not. I actually do consider myself a Christian because the Bible is the main scripture that I know and have studied, and that I believe has, I don't believe I need more than that to have the answers. I believe it really comes down to practice, not more knowledge for me. But I think it's a really personal choice. And I think going into any Unity church, I think you got 50-50 of Unity churches that consider themselves Christian or not. Yeah. Yeah, Marcia.
I am having had experiences with this, like, so do you love Jesus? And I went into a whole thing and got the response, oh, that's so weird. So if people ask me that now, I say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes simpler is better. And what's so interesting to me is, you know, we're in a time and a culture where people are very like the evangelical is very loud right now, right? And like we're trying to recruit people to Christendom and have you accepted Jesus as your savior. Okay, in the history of Christianity, in the history of the world, this is a unique thing. So even within churches that everyone would say this is absolutely a Christian church, they are widely different on what they teach and what they emphasize and what they don't emphasize. Even the existence of hell, since you brought that up, there are plenty of foundational traditional Christian churches that don't believe in hell. It's just we don't talk about the theology much. And I think because we are so vocal about what we believe and we're not afraid to say it. I think that's why maybe people say like, oh, well, that's not Christian. Part of me wants to say, well, if you'd go talk to your pastor and actually have a theological discussion, you'd notice that we're actually a lot closer than you think we just have different talking points, right? On that same note, I had a question about this, so I want to, since it fits. Somebody asked about the elements of traditional worship and how they're incorporated or not into unity. I would say it goes back to the same thing I was talking about with the Bible, of like, we can do all the traditional stuff, we just interpret it differently. So some unity churches do communion, and we just don't look at it like you're literally eating the body and the blood. We look at it as a symbolic gesture of you taking in that wisdom and that intelligence of that God self, of that Christ self, and connecting with it. In general, our Sunday services are the traditional Christian worship flow, so that's the same. And we don't have like a set liturgical calendar in Unity, so you go to a different Unity church, they're talking about a completely different thing. But Burning Bull on New Year's Eve and Whitestone the first Sunday of January, those are kind of the Unity traditions. So a few churches do it differently, but that I would say is something that binds us together in our worship style. And then the other question that I think fits with that is somebody asked what's Unity's take on structured prayer, like the Lord's Prayer. That's Our Father who art in heaven. Okay. So in Unity and in a lot of actually other Christian denominations, the Lord's Prayer is Jesus's instructions on how to pray. So in the Bible, he actually says, pray in this way, Our Father who art in heaven. So for that one specifically, Unity actually interprets that as our instructions of the posture we put on to pray. So we align ourselves with that higher truth and that higher reality and the sacredness of divine mind or God. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be his name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The way Unity interprets that is as I align my consciousness with God's truth, with that possible truth, I can bring that into expression and existence here. So Unity uses the Lord's Prayer interpreted in a different way. For structured prayer in general, I would say the biggest thing is that Unity doesn't believe in magic words. So we don't believe that if you just say the right words, you get the outcome. It's really about what we were talking about earlier of getting it into your bones. So if having a structured prayer that's easy to memorize and that you know makes it easier to not be in your head and to really tune into like the feeling of what you're saying, then use it. And if it doesn't, then don't, right? So it would go either way. But as far as structure goes, Unity does have a 5-step prayer process, which is like our official prayer structure, but that was developed in like the 70s. So like that's not even canon. Nothing's canon in Unity. You can do what you want. But if you're curious, we do have a 5-step prayer process that I find helpful, but the steps kind of all flow together. Okay, Trina?
Given the world that we're in right now in our bodies and the one we see, I can find it really hard and painful to as a person with any kind of empathy, this world can look really painful right now, and maybe it always has. I don't know. And sometimes people will respond with, well, this is just illusion. It's not real, pay it no mind. And it's like, pay it no mind. People are dying. How do I pay it no mind? So I guess I want to hear like, how does Unity help me to find peace around that? Like with the fact that the world does not look or behave the way I wish it did.
Yeah.
It's not my preference, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I think you're hitting on something really important by talking about this. You all have heard that before, like this is an illusion, right? So this is a metaphysical truth that when we're on a certain path of spiritual growth, we're trying to see and realize, right? That we're creating in some way, shape, or form, whether it's individually or collective, we're shaping the experience that we have. That doesn't mean that it's not real and that it's not painful and that it doesn't have an impact, right? And I think the point that you hit on is really important because I could make the same complaints of, well, don't just tell me it's an illusion. I could make that same complaint about evangelicals who are really focused on heaven, right? Because if you're saying this life doesn't matter, it's all about just claim Jesus as your savior and it's the kingdom to come, then you can say, I don't care what happens in this world. And I don't care who's persecuted, and I don't care what we do to our planet, because it doesn't matter. It's the next life that's important. It's the same thing. And it has the same result of we're turning a blind eye to real suffering, right? So Unity's approach would be, it's not about ignoring what's happening. And we have to find this balance between I'm affirming what's spiritually true that I want to bring into expression without dismissing the experience you're currently having. And that's a balance. And I think a balance that Unity's still trying to find. I think we had for a long time the I'm going to deny, and only affirm what I want to see, which metaphysically is a good practice, but relationally and empathetically misses the mark. And so I think we're still trying to find that in Unity of where that balance is. And I would say for you personally, I would look at what are the things that I'm being exposed to that are breaking my heart? And do I need to be exposed to all of them, or can I choose where my empathy is best spent? Because we only have so much in our cup to give. And so if you're finding that a lot of that is being zapped by the news and by global events that you can do nothing about, refocus on where can I spend my empathy to actually make a difference in people's lives versus it just being drained. Because we were never meant physiologically to hold the suffering of an entire world. We were never meant to be able to know all of the deaths that are happening, 1,000 miles away, right? So I would bring it maybe a little bit more local, and I think if you could put that loving heart and empathy into action in a very tangible way, you would find it easier to hold the suffering that's around you versus trying to hold all of it. Yeah. And Sean, keep me on track on time. Just tell me, okay?
What part would you say meditation has in personal spiritual practice and within Unity?
So in Unity, our official 5-step prayer process, meditation is one of the steps. So in our official prayer process, meditation is essentially where you let go of the mantra or the affirmation or any type of intellectual process, and you kind of open to receive and just sit with it. Obviously, meditation in today's day and age, there's like all different modalities and formulas and things like that. But the core of meditation is what Charles Fillmore called spending time in the silence. Any of the old school Unity folks will know silence with a capital S. Yes. So silence with a capital S isn't just the non-existence of noise. Silence, true meditation in Unity, is this is one of those things that, like, how do you put it into words? So all of my experienced meditators, you know that moment in meditation where it's all of a sudden like you don't really feel like you quite exist anymore and you're like expanded. People are nodding their heads, so it's like impossible to get put into words. But if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. That's the silence. So according to Unity, that is when we are aligned with divine mind. That's when we get that wisdom. That's when we get that intelligence. That's when we have that power to discern. So it's like that's the good stuff. Like that is when we are fully aligned and living from our spiritual self. The more time that we spend in silence, it's almost like the more infused we are with that God energy. For me personally, I would say meditation is like the keystone. Like if things are not going well in my life, if I'm noticing that like, gosh, I'm getting into disagreements with this person, or like I'm frustrated about this situation, or yada yada, 100 times out of 100, my meditation practice has slipped. And empirically, we have evidence now that shows the more you meditate, the better you are able to regulate your emotions. Your default mode network that like weaves this story about who you are and what you're capable with slows down so you can like reprogram. So meditation physiologically and spiritually, like capstone foundation, like has to be there, in my opinion, and in Unity's. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Let's do 3 more questions.
Okay. And I got all of these right. Yes, I did. Okay, we got time for 3 more, Sean says. All right, Jim. And then we'll go Dawn, and then we'll leave the last one for someone who hasn't asked a question yet.
Do you ever explore living within the divine right mind?
Explain what you mean a little bit more.
I pick different topics similar to the 5 items we're talking about, and I pick one of them, and for maybe an hour or two, I will live in that realm, which is a part of me, but it's like outside of me I'm connected with.
Hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
That is not within my practice, I would say.
Cool. Cool.
That was quick.
You mentioned the 5 steps of prayer in unity. Could
Mhm.
you tell us what those are?
Sure. My panel that quizzed me to get approved to be graduating and ordained would be so proud of me for still knowing these things. I'm just saying. The first is relaxation, concentration, meditation, realization, and thanksgiving or gratitude. That's the 5. Do you want an overview of like what that means? You're good? Okay. All right. Right behind you, Marcia.
I'm not sure if this is a question or a commentary. Over the years, I've been to a variety of unity churches, and they all have very different personalities or flavors. First one, which I love dearly, they never used the word God. So their theology was kind of non that. I also went to the Unity here when it was Conrad was a ex-Catholic priest, and his flavor included kind of that quality of devotion, along with a lot of positivity. And later on, the church has had kind of the positive thinking kind of flavor.
Mhm.
So I wonder if there's a way of understanding the divergence in unity churches.
Yeah. Really great and timely topic because as a movement, this is something that we've been talking about since I was in seminary and continue to talk about. Um, our theology and our wording, along with the "Are we Christian or not," is like an ongoing thing. Something I heard in school that I will use until the day I die is if you've been to one unity church, you've been to one unity church. We are very, very different. And I think where it comes from is back in the day when Charles, after Myrtle died, when Charles was still alive, they had the Unity School of Christianity, which that's a whole thing. But in the school, they trained people on how to interpret the Bible metaphysically and like what we believe and the healing method that Myrtle used and all of those foundational teachings, right? But they never ordained ministers, and Charles didn't want to. But it got to the point where they had people who would go to the Unity School of Christianity, learn the Unity way of doing things, but then they were still into things like spiritualism and seances, which Charles was very much against. And they would teach those things alongside Unity stuff. And so the reason Unity first started ordaining ministers was actually to try and control that and to try to make sure that the only people who are teaching in the Unity name are teaching only Unity stuff. And he's probably rolling over in his grave right now with like where we've come, right? Based on your experience of like how different Unity churches can be. So I don't know if the uh, intention actually worked, for him to like really have it be in this narrow box. But at the same time, to me, I think the heart of the Unity movement was always I reserve the right to change my mind. That when new evidence comes in, I'm not stuck in dogma and doctrine. I can expand my beliefs to encompass these new things that we're learning. So, on the other hand, I feel like if our beliefs aren't shifting and changing, if our box isn't growing a little bit, we're not staying true to what the unity movement has always been, which is being willing to ask the question, being willing to change our minds, being willing to reorient ourselves given new evidence. So I think it's both a pro and a con. I think the con is really that it's hard to really define what unity is, but at the same time, that might also be a pro, right? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, again, it was more commentary than
Yeah. They are all they're all so different. And it's different, and I think it needs to be too, right? One of the conversations we had in seminary was we had somebody who was a minister in Bend, Oregon, and then we also had somebody who's a minister in Nashville, Tennessee. Those two churches are completely different, and they need to be. Because if they did in Oregon what they do in Nashville, they wouldn't have any congregants. And if they did in Nashville what they do in Oregon, they wouldn't have any congregants, right? So I think the flexibility is really a gift. The other thing I was going to say about the word God, I actually made the argument in seminary that if what we mean when we say God is this energy, this underlying source or substance of the universe, divine mind, consciousness, but when we say the word God, people think old man with a beard in the sky, that maybe we should just use a different word. Maybe we should stop using that word, right? So I could make the case for that, and I see why some unity churches don't use it. And I think it's more because I don't want, when I say it, for you to picture an old concept that's still in your bones, even though you're trying to change it. So I see both reasons of why someone may or may not want to use that word. That time? All right. Thank you, everyone. That was fun. Thanks for letting me do something a little bit different today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. All right.
We got an oldie but goodie coming up from Trina and Steve.
I just want to do a short intro in this. So most of us are familiar with the Birds version of this, and that's kind of what we're going to be singing, and please sing along. And it's actually the words from this are from the Bible. They're based on Ecclesiastes, and Pete Seeger, who was, some people remember, a folk singer, actually wrote the music to this song, and the Birds did a really great job of it. So feel free to sing along here. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace. A time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. Thank you.
Let's prepare for a celebration of abundance. So last week, we missed out on Noisy Can. I just had too much going on. So we're going to do Noisy Can today. All right. This is just to toss in
think I
loose
have
coins if you have any.
I know.
Sure does. All right, let's get to our normal offering time. And Donna's our board basket blesser today.
Our board consciousness, if you could say it with me, please, is abundance. We are an abundant and thriving community. And our second board consciousness is the new minister. We have attracted the perfect new minister for Unity of Flagstaff, who leads and inspires us into our next phase of spiritual growth and service.
Go forth. Oh, sorry, we have to do the blessing part. We release from our limitation and give from abundance. Thank you, Spirit. Now go forth. I'm here to remind you about ways to give. You could do cash or check. We have an option for Zelle online. We have an investment account. If you'd like to give directly towards that, please let me know so I can make sure that your money goes to the right place. And we also have a P.O. Box 1740, Flagstaff, Arizona 86002, where you can mail in any kind of gifts or offerings, and we'll make sure and include it in our collection. All right, come on up. That's okay. If everybody will join me. Thank you for this bounty. Thank you for this community. Thank you for the good we do and will do. We are joy-filled, and so it is. If you'll please stand as able for our closing, we're going to reprise We Are One.
We're going to sing the first verse, and then you guys come in on the chorus up here.
We are one with the Spirit. We are one with the power. We are one with each other every day and every hour. We are one. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one with everything under the sun. We are one.
And now the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. Claim the light. The love of God enfolds us. Claim the love. The power of God protects us. Claim the power. The presence of God watches over us. Claim the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a great week.
Great and amazing week, everybody. Thank you.
Amanda, that was so wonderful. Oops, sorry. Oh, you got to turn her mic on.